everyone, and welcome to another episode of Analytical Fanboys. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what does a 20-something, does absolutely jack shit with his life, piece of shit white boy like me, deserve to have a podcast for? Well, I'll tell you what. My name is The Vacuuminator, and I am joined by the fantastical Boingo Rider.
Do you believe in a thing called love? Do you listen to the rhythm of your heart? There's a chance we can make it now. We'll be rocking till the sun don't start. I believe in a thing called love.
And together, we have a podcast called Analytical Fanboys. It's just a little thing, just a little project of ours, just a little investment. Maybe you could invest in it too by hitting the subscribe button. Yeah, that's right, I'm getting that shit right out of the way. Because, hey, we're talking about The Founder this week. This is a movie... Little kind of under the radar, not exactly indie, but not exactly mainstream film that came out a few years ago, starring Michael Keaton, and it is a biopic about Ray Kroc, the guy who, and I'm using massive air quotes here, founded McDonald's.
We can be more specific. He founded McDonald Industries.
Yeah, he founded the Franchise Realty Corporation.
Yeah.
Let's just say he founded McDonald's in the same way Stan Lee founded Marvel Comics.
At least Stan Lee put effort in. And not just sold things.
So Chris, this was your first time seeing this. How did you feel about it?
It's a really good movie, and I saw some really interesting things in it. And it was just like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah, it's one of those movies where you're not, like, super impressed, but you watch it and you go, hey, that's pretty good.
It's well acted, it's well directed, there's some... It's not mind-blowing cinematography, but there's some interesting cinematography effects.
There's a few neat sequences in there. The soundtrack is complete bland bullshit, but it looks like a really good period piece.
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's one of those. Mr. Banks.
It's they wanted to go for a couple of awards. They knew they weren't going to go for an Oscar, but maybe a Golden Globe or two.
Yeah. I definitely say that. Now, obviously, I checked this out because it's Michael Keaton, and he's Batman, and he's one of my favorite actors. I actually saw this.
He's also Beetlejuice and the Vulture.
That is true. I actually saw this after Homecoming, because before Homecoming, literally the only thing I'd seen Michael Keaton in was Batman, and I saw Homecoming, and I was like, yeah, that's right. Michael Keaton's a pretty good actor. I wonder what else he's done recently. Oh, this highly critically acclaimed superhero analytical think piece called Birdman, and this little biopic about the guy who founded McDonald's. I'm going to watch that.
Yeah.
And it's...
Also, I knew Michael Keaton was in there, but I didn't know Nick Offerman was.
Yeah. I completely forgot he was in this, and then he just shows up and gives, like, a really solid performance.
Because here's the thing. The first, 10 to 20 minutes he's on screen, you don't realize it's Nick Offerman, because part of the characterization is his brother's the more excitable, extroverted person. They get along perfectly well, but that's just how they are, and he knows his brother really likes bragging on him. That's the brotherly relationship.
He's the brother who goes, yeah, I know I'm good, and his brother is the brother that goes, no, he's really good, you don't understand.
Yeah, and he appreciates that of his brother. So the first 10 to 20 minutes he's on screen, you don't hear him talk, and since he doesn't have the beard, he doesn't look like Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
And so it's not until a little bit later where he starts talking, you go that's Nick Offerman.
And I love that there's a scene where he states that he's a card-carrying Republican, and I'm like, dude, for the period, you are wearing, the fucking Republican uniform.
Oh.
Oh. It's so good. Like, he looks like a straight-laced, almost like, I forgot, almost like Michael Douglas in Falling Down, kind of a businessman outfit. And then his brother's just average working Joe, kind of balding. I love it.
Yeah. But, like, those are the kind of guys I would imagine to open up a successful burger joint.
Mm-hmm. And then Ray Kroc comes in and goes, franchise the damn thing.
And here's the biggest thing. I didn't come out of this movie feeling 100% Ray Kroc was a bad guy.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like...
He's a dick, but I never felt like he was malicious in anything he did.
Okay. The reason I brought up Stan Lee earlier is I deadass see this as like a perfect template to do the Stan Lee biopic everyone is clamoring for right now. Like, that's why I put this on the list, is I think Michael Keaton's performance as Ray Kroc, I think Bryan Cranston, put him in a movie with this kind of script, he'd be an amazing Stan Lee.
I can see it, but I also want, like, my biggest thing about Stan Lee is Stan Lee did write the stories. He did fill in those bubbles with words. He didn't just coast.
It's debatable. It's one of those great mysteries of history. We weren't there, so we'll never know. But, like, I can just see the moment, like, there's that scene in the film where Ray Kroc is, like, he's getting ready to build his McDonald's #1, and he's sitting in that lot at night and just, like, putting his hands through the dirt, and he's saying to himself, just be right. Just be right this one time. And, like, I can picture that scene in a movie with, like... Because if I was going to do a Stan Lee biopic, I wouldn't just cast, like, one person to be Stan Lee. I'd be like... My picks are Bryan Cranston as older Stan Lee, Tom Holland as younger Stan Lee. And I'd have Tom Holland as Stan Lee sitting on the steps of Timely Comics as, like, Timely is getting ready to go under in the late 30s. And, like, they're taking shit out on trucks and whatnot. And he's going, like, just one more chance. Just give us one more chance. And then you see someone walking up from the feet. And the camera follows them, and they stop right in front of Stan. And the camera pans up. And I don't know who the actor would be, but it's a young Jack Kirby. And he just goes, Stan, what's going on? And that leads into Marvel actually becoming a thing. Because that's like a big moment in the Marvel story, is Timely almost went under during the Great Depression, but then Jack Kirby came in when they were literally getting ready to shut down, like it would have been another couple days, and he's like, I'll work for cheap because I like this company and it's been good to me so far in a way no other comic company has been, and we'll keep it afloat for a little while longer. We'll see what we can do. And that led to Timely eventually evolving into Marvel in the 40s.
Yeah. But but in the founder, I never felt like he was being malicious with any of his actions.
Mm-hmm.
It always felt like, no, I'm making the best decision for everyone involved. And, like, he even feels like he's making the best decision for the brothers up until the end, when he's going like, okay, fuck them at this point in time.
There's a point where he's constantly frustrated with them, and they're constantly having disagreements because they literally say at that scene in the beginning when they're saying, like, well, we did try franchising and it didn't work out. They're like, you see somebody take your sweet, perfect creation and just pervert it into something that it's not supposed to be, and it hurts you on the inside. And so they're very protective, and they're constantly fighting him on, no, you can't change this, you can't change that, you can't add this, you can't take away that. And eventually he gets fed up with it, and he just goes, we're going to cut them out. We're just going to do whatever it takes to cut them out, and I'm going to own the name McDonald's because that's what's successful. It's not the restaurant itself, it's the name. I love that scene at the end, by the way.
Because it shows that he's right. It is branding to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm. And then, like, I swear to God, one of the saddest moments in cinema in the last few years is just them standing there watching the sign be changed from McDonald's to "We've been here for however many years, hamburgers," and the one brother going, "It's gonna be okay," and then it goes to the credits and it's like, yeah, they shut down 6 months later.
Yeah. Like, but in like, when I say for 99% of the movie, it feels like Ray Kroc, because the best way to put it is I feel like everybody's made a Faustian deal, even himself with himself.
Yeah, he's a shrewd and crafty businessman, but he's doing it for the best reasons you can possibly have for being a shrewd and crafty businessman. Which is, he's been put upon his whole life. He's had a hard time. Like, literally, the opening scene makes you root for him because he's just this shitty door-to-door salesman that nobody wants to talk to. And apparently this is like the 5th job like this he's been on. And his wife doesn't even care about him anymore. And it's just like, will you just come home already? Will you stop doing this shit? I want a husband who's home all the time. We're fucking 40 years old and we don't have kids yet. What's going on? It's like, yeah. Oh man. That's not really a thing that happens anymore, but I feel for you.
Yeah. But like, and like, you see the joy in his heart when he goes, in his eyes when he sees this idea, and it's like, this could work. People would love this. Mm-hmm. And
I love how vehemently he defends it at first. Like that scene where he gets all the friends at his supper club in at, which, by the way, one of the things I love about period pieces is seeing shit that just doesn't exist anymore. Like An Adventure in Time and Space is a biopic about William Hartnell as the first Doctor Who. And there's just so much smoking in that movie. It's ridiculous. And in this movie, like seeing supper clubs and like big bustling bingo halls, I was like, God, the 50s truly were another time.
Young Shriners.
Yeah. And fucking people crowding in at a, what's it called? A fucking lodge.
Yeah, but like, and like you say, it's interesting to see him so vehemently defend it. It's like, yeah, he believes in this idea. It's just because it's not his fully formed idea, he's willing to change it to make it more efficient.
Mm-hmm. And like, you can kind of see his point of view when he's like on the phone with them for that first change, where he's like, adding a basement and a furnace is standard shit in the Midwest. You need to get on board here, guys. And you can also see their point of view of, well, we've got to have the architect check it over and make sure it's okay. And it's one of those things where neither party is really wrong, but they're also not being the nicest person about their point of view.
Yeah. And like I say, it's a Faustian deal with everybody, including himself.
Yeah.
Because he gets the brothers on board and it just makes them miserable. Mm-hmm. He gets himself on board and yeah, he's successful, but it basically eats him inside because he's lying. And you can see it at the end scene when he's rehearsing the speech, when he's talking about the first stand-in, when this whole thing started, he hesitated a little bit. It's like, shit. Mm-hmm. I guess it's just...
But then the hot young blonde walks in and he's like, no, fuck it, I'm good.
Yeah. It's nice to know that they actually stayed married and weren't like a money marriage.
Yeah. I remember when I first watched this movie, I was actually working out at a Salvation Army Croc Center. This is a thing that exists. There's like multiple of them throughout the country. It's basically a YMCA, but it's run by the Salvation Army. And this is before I knew the Salvation Army did shitty stuff to gay and trans people. And like, I went in to work out the next day after having seen this movie, and for the first time I noticed there's like this giant plaque and it's the picture of the real people that's in the credits, Ray and Joan Kroc, this giant plaque of them, and it's like, this center is dedicated to the memory of Ray and Joan Kroc, who have helped support the Salvation Army for decades upon decades with millions of dollars in donations. And I was like, oh shit, that movie I watched, that's a real thing. That happened. That was one of those moments where like light switch.
You mean things based on real events are based on real events?
Yeah, that does happen. You know, it's entirely possible. It's a crazy world we live in.
But there's several just interesting little bits and tidbits. Like
how'd you feel about the character the first wife Ray had? You know, Admiral Hodo.
Here's the thing. We're very much with Ray's perspective, so we don't see her much. And it feels like any support she gives is kind of half-hearted. Like,
it feels like they were high school sweethearts and they stopped really loving each other a long time ago. And if they had kids, their relationship might be more okay, but it wouldn't be like a true soulmates kind of thing ever.
Yeah, and when you meet, because technically that's his second wife. When he meets his third wife, the one who was already married, which it just makes them kind of fated for each other in a way.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, like, it's not a thing of like, oh, he poached her, that dirty old businessman. No, she wanted his junk from like the moment she saw him proposing that milkshake thing and whatnot.
Yeah, like there's a chemistry there, and there was more of a chemistry between them and her first husband, and it makes sense in a way, you know?
Yeah. It's like you can see how these two ended up together, though it's not the most okay thing in the world.
And like she's even given like business advice, going like, hey, they're opening up a new baseball and football stadium here, and I think she's in Chicago. And it's like, you could open up a McDonald's, which I think that would have been the White Sox and the Bears.
I will take your word for it.
Because Wrigley Field's been there forever. But like, when there's a very, very subtle scene after, like, a little bit after that, where Ray and his wife are just sitting at the table eating in dead silence, and he just drops, "I want a divorce," and he just goes back to eating. And that I think is the moment.
And she just looks at him like, "What? Okay."
And I think that's the moment where he finally becomes the character you thought he was going to be throughout the whole movie.
That's the moment when he turns heel.
Yeah. And he's like, you're going through the divorce process, and he goes like, give her the house, give her everything.
What about McDonald's? She doesn't get a cent.
She doesn't get a single stock because he knows he's gonna make all that back in like 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And I love all the subtle bits with like the fucking cavalcade of Hoopy Fruits he gathers around him to help build his empire of like Fred Turner and Soderbergh and the other guy, like slowly throughout the film. And they don't get a lot to do. They're more just kind of set pieces than they are characters. But it feels like it feels like a proper sort of, if you're a McDonald's hound, you're going to freak out when you see those people. And for everybody else, it's just hitting the appropriate story beats. It's really nice and subtle in that way.
Yeah. Like, there's just a lot of like subtle little elements that just really kind of like, because Ray's pretty much a pretty okay guy. And then one little idea happens and it's like, shit, that'd be a really good idea. Yeah, let's follow up on that. And he starts expanding on it, and it just corrodes him slowly.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the guy going like, yo, you'd make more money buying the land and leasing it to the franchisees than doing it any other way. He's like, shit, you're right. And we'd also have more control.
Which was another thing I had only really learned about right before I saw this movie. Like, I didn't know that was a thing until I was like 20 years old. And I happened to be just chatting with a friend, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I worked at a Wendy's for years," and they told me like this is how shit works, and I was like, "Wow, that's kind of crazy." And then I went online, and it was like, "Oh, every fast food place operates like that." Oh, McDonald's started it. That's interesting. And then I watched this movie, and that was probably the one moment. Like, there's probably a million moments like this for McDonald's fans, like hardcore McDonald's
historians.
Experts. Yeah.
I don't think you can be a fan of McDonald's, but you can be interested in the history of it.
Yeah. God, that's probably a whole subgenre of YouTuber that neither of us have explored yet, of like people who are super McDonald's experts and like have collected every McDonald's toy ever.
Oh man, they just do dumb reviews of the weird VHSs they sent out in the late 90s.
Yeah! But like, that was my one freak out moment of like, oh yeah, I knew that. That's cool that they put that in there.
But it also really shows how his tactics started changing because he was very head-on, very upfront with everything. And then that happened and it was like, shit, I can just undermine so many things and get my way.
Yeah.
And it's like, he took that Faustian deal with himself. He ruined himself.
And he starts opening like a ton more stores, and he has that speech of like, I'm looking for a few good men. And there's that scene of like him cutting the ribbon open, and there's a fucking cheerleading squad there spelling out McDonald's, and I'm like, this is literally every man who is hungry for success, every man who really wants to be like classically successful has had this wet dream.
Yeah, and that really I think that character-wise, that pushes him over this edge of going like, fuck no, I am a success. Because ultimately, to a certain extent, he kind of is.
Yeah.
But like 50% of the ideas aren't his.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, man, McDonald's, Disney, Marvel to an extent, the WWE. There is no family company alive today that doesn't have some kind of shady past. That makes you go like, that's a bit iffy there, man.
Disney not paying its animators well.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
could you imagine if like this just became? I don't remember who the like director and writer are, but could you imagine if this just became their thing? Like they do a movie about this on Walt Disney. They do a movie like
Disney would never let that happen.
That's fair, but they do a movie about this like on Stan Lee. They do a movie like this on fucking Vince McMahon.
I mean, there's been rumors of a Vincent Kennedy McMahon movie starring the guy who voices Rocket Raccoon. I can't remember his name.
Okay, this is weird. I can see his name in my mind, but I can't put it to words.
He also starred in that Lady Gaga movie recently.
Yeah, that guy.
Hold on, I'm a Google.
Yeah.
Rocket Raccoon. Boop. Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that boy.
Bradley Cooper.
Cooper was the word that was in my head. I couldn't remember his first name.
For me, it was like the B name.
So we gotta put them together and make the Bradley Cooper Megazord. Oh, good lord. Anything else you think we need to hit on? Because I can't really think of much.
They did a really good job showing the choreography of like just dancing around all the food preparation stuff.
Oh yeah, the thing. Like
I love the whole
best
scene with the chalk and everything. That's great too.
Yeah, the best sequence in the movie is when the brothers are describing how they got started and how they came up with the Speed D system. I love that shit. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a clip available on YouTube. And like, if you don't watch anything else of this movie, just watch that scene. That scene is fucking choice. It's like something out of a pre-reality show History Channel documentary.
Yeah.
Good filmmaking.
And when Ray asks for the divorce, when the camera cuts and you see the wife framed by the door frame, and you just see Ray coming in and out. It's just like that's emblematic of their whole relationship. She's all alone, and he just pops in every once in a while.
Yeah, like I love the scene where we're technically introduced to her when he comes home and he's like, "I found this restaurant. It's got this Speedy system, and trust me, that's an app name because it is Speedy." And he's like, he's drinking a beer and he's so into what he's talking about, and she's just sitting there like, "Okay, Ray, okay." And then he finishes, and she just goes, "So here we go again." And he's like, "What do you mean by that?" Like he's so clueless as to how she feels about this whole thing. Like, not the consummate, but what was the actual 50s husband and wife relationship.
And it's just like it's just a good movie. I wouldn't say it's a new favorite. And I don't think I want to go back to it anytime soon just because
it's not a every year, it's a every 5 to 6 years.
Yeah. Good movie. It's a good movie.
It's a solid flick.
It deserves the 80. It's not a 10. It's a good 8.
Yeah. So shall we go on to what we've been up to this week?
Sure.
So Chris, what have you been listening to this week?
Well, so today, in fact, I found a little indie band I want to listen to more of. They kind of got a neat little sound called Porque Courts.
That is a very indie band name.
Yeah. And a punk band that does not like to be called punk, a band called Idols. Like their sound is very punk rocky kind of stuff, but I can understand why, because it's not exactly like traditional punk. It's a little bit more rock and rolly kind of vibes. So I can understand their point of view, but they're a good band.
Yeah.
The song I was listening to a lot of was Don't Fight a Man with a Perm.
That's a good title.
And like they reference these boots were made for walking in the song.
Hey.
So it's a fun goofy band. And then of course the same Oingo Boingo, Fishbone.
Your mains.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty much what I've been watching.
As I previously mentioned, I've been falling down the synth wave, city pop, lo-fi hip hop hole.
Have you gotten the Magic Sword yet?
Dude, I passed Magic Sword like 5 days ago.
All right, cool.
I am knee deep in this shit. It is good, it is calming, it is kind of hip and soothing. It's just perfect stuff to listen to at work when you've already finished your allotted book for the week, your audio book for the week, I should say. I absolutely love it. But also, some singles I listened to this week. I went and put most of Madonna's big singles in my Watch Later playlist because I realized I'd never seen the music videos for them, and I didn't have any Madonna music in my music playlist anyway, even though I hear Madonna on the radio constantly. So I was like, okay, let's go and experience Madonna properly and see what she's like as an artist and not just as an earworm. So I've seen the video for Like a Prayer now, and that is not what I would have pictured at all, but it's also wonderful and really cool and creative, kind of like that sort of end of the 90s, or no, more mid 90s, I think this was made. Just like not quite as artsy fartsy as the 80s, but still doing some neat stuff that you don't really see anymore. So I enjoyed that, and of course the song is fucking amazing. Everybody knows Like a Prayer. And then I listened to Turn to Hate by Orville Peck.
My boy Orville.
Not his best track, but still pretty solid.
I think it's the hook has like just a little bit more of a buh to it. If it was a little bit more snappy, I think it'd clean up a little bit nicer.
Yeah, that's probably
because it feels like there's like 2 syllables longer than it needs to be because it's like dun 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 turn to hate. But speaking of that, I found another outlaw country dude that I'm into.
Oh fuck yeah!
I need to listen to more of his typical stuff, but the way I found him is apparently his new album's a little bit more rock and roll influence, and he made a film with Netflix starring a samurai in a muscle car.
Awesome.
So, real quick, I'm going to send you a link to that. But before that, here's a link to another thing, because you say, oh, I'm getting deep into that shit. Tell me when you're on Echo Jams level, man.
Okay.
Listen to some Echo Jams real quick while I get the guy so I can show you.
Oh, it's this kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, Echo Jams, man.
Yeah, this ain't half bad. I had to listen to this at work.
Yeah, once you get into it for a good bit, it tends to like fade into you start to lose sight of how chunky it is, and it just flows. Yeah. Echo Jams is great, and this is like one of the like proto vaporwave.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I think I'm gonna stick to like synthwave, city pop, lo-fi kind of shit as my alternate for when I finish a book for the week, and I still have to work another day or two.
Because you might also like future funk.
I might. I have to look into that.
It's like vaporwave, but it really focuses on city pop instead of like 90s R&B, 80s R&B.
Ooh, I like that idea. But like, I've been listening to podcasts after I finish my book for the week for the longest time, and like they're good, but sometimes you'll get wrapped up in something, and then you'll realize a customer's been talking at you for a minute, and you're like, "Wait, what the fuck's happening?"
Yeah. So here's the other outlaw country dude and his new music video. His name's Sturgill Simpson. And it's so good.
Yeah, I'm just skipping around in this. This is great.
It's like a little bit of like Queens of the Stone Age, a little bit of more bluesy stuff, and his sound just piercing through it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. It's great. So you want some more outlaw modern country? Sturgill Simpson. Oh my god. If we are getting an outlaw, like it is so relieving to me to realize, oh wait a second, I don't hate country. I just hate shit music.
Yeah.
And it's like, thank God, now I can just listen to Garth Brooks and Tim McGraw without fear. I can listen to the shit that I thought was good when I was a kid, and I have to worry about, yeah, but I don't listen to all country. And it's like, no, fuck that. That's shit country. This is good music.
Nice.
Yeah.
Then I listened to Bullfrogs and Hurricanes by DJ Cumberbund.
DJ Cumberbund.
Probably my least favorite song of his so far. Just didn't really do a whole lot for me. It was still okay.
Yeah.
But it wasn't this meh.
DJ Cumberbund's like pizza. A bad DJ Cumberbund song is still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not horrible. You wouldn't say no. But, dude, his newest one, Beyonce and Rammstein.
Oof.
Ooh. It's so good. It's mwah.
But then, you know who else I listened to this week?
Was it Rammstein?
No. My dude. I went on a massive fucking Smash Mouth kick.
Of course.
Because low-key, Smash Mouth has been one of my favorite bands my entire life.
And you look at me weird for saying Fishbone and Oingo Boingo.
Look, man, we all have our quirks. But
at least mine are understandable.
I was talking to you before the recording today about like how earlier today, this morning, I went and had like this nice joyous walk downtown and went and experienced Love and Life. You know what I was fucking listening to that whole time?
Walking on the sun. That
was part of it. I listened to literally this playlist that I'm about to link to you called Smash Mouth's Greatest Hits. And like, let me tell you, listeners, you have not lived until you are walking through a big metropolitan park in the middle of your city listening to I Just Want to See. Like, good God, there are so many underrated Smash Mouth songs that nobody talks about but are so good. Like, the big hits, like I'm a Believer, fucking All Star, and Walking on the Sun are great. Walking on the Sun is one of my favorite songs of all time, and The Morning Comes is good, but bruh, have you ever listened to their cover of Do It Again?
No, because it's Smash Mouth. I've listened to 3 songs.
Have you listened to fucking Hot, their theme for Hot Wheels Highway 35 World Race, the direct-to-DVD movie that I own and talked about a couple weeks ago?
Oh my god.
Smash Mouth is great, and I love them.
It is at the point where I almost believe in another life you are a meme. In another world, you are a lol cow.
Maybe I'm a lol cow in this world and we just don't know it yet.
Oh boy. That's gonna be a fun set of podcasts when that blows up.
Yeah. So tell me what you've been watching this week, Chris.
Okay. You know me. What's the one thing I'm guaranteed to have been watching? Gundam. Answer, old ass anime. I think my playlist didn't get to Gundam, and I'm so upset because I'm so into Gundam right now. But I did get a fill of mecha. I did get my mecha fix.
What'd you watch? Robotech?
Fuck Harmony Gold. I did watch Macross, episode 5. Basically,
I feel like I should start watching Robotech just so we can have that back and forth.
Fuck Robotech. But basically, all the refugees have rebuilt their city from the remains outside of the ship. That's the ship and the town are not like on the other side of Pluto. And they go like, oh, the buildings are there. We'll just rebuild them inside the ship, and we'll just live there while we're on the way back to Earth. Well, the aliens they're fighting decide to attack, and the only way to activate the main cannon is to transform the battleship into its own giant mecha and ruin all the houses that they've built up and basically make all the citizens' lives back to square one. even after they just got back on their feet, and it's like such a big dick move.
Damn.
And it's just like disheartening. I watched episode 2 of Zoids, where basically the main boy character goes like, "Hey, I got this big Zoid dude and this dinosaur-looking motherfucker, and people are going to attack, so I'm just going to leave the village because I don't want you to be in danger."
Good for him.
Yeah. And it's pretty much it. His mother's sad and has like a "my boy's growing up" moment. Because in the original Japanese, he's 14, but in the English dub, he's 17. Which, you know, don't want 14-year-olds thinking they can do things like that, I guess. Watch episode 5 of Jushin Liger. Basically, the reporter lady who was trying to uncover his identity in the last episode goes like, "Hey, my grandfather found this shit in archaeological digs. I'm helping you. I know this is a big thing, so I'm helping you." And then a monster attacks. That's it. Pretty much. Episode 5 of Outlaw Star, the whole crew is trying to rebuild and regroup after essentially their previous captain died. So they're doing all that. It's interesting. And they're running away from probably the best cat girl waifu in all of anime. Genuinely a great character, fun, interesting, and not one of those generic cat girl waifus with like just the ears on her top. She's like a proper cat.
Oh yeah, I have seen this character before. This is great. I dead ass thought she was from Tenchi Muya though.
I mean, she does look like a Muyo character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next World Chronicle, Airgaze. It's the one where there's 2 warring factions, and there just so happens to be like a couple of outlaws with some mechas. Well, the main character boy and the young kids that go around driving robots decide to just have like a competition with their bots because they're bored, and they waste all their ammo, and so they have to convince the other adults to go on a dangerous mission to get more ammunition.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a weird slice of life outlaw pirate shit. It was neat. I watched episode 3 of Snow White with the red hair. Basically, an advisor dude goes like, "Ew, you're a commoner. Get out of here, bitch." And she goes like, "Nah, bitch. I'm a strong, independent woman, and I'm just here because the prince is my friend. Fuck you."
Yeah.
And the guy goes like, "Oh shit. Oh damn. You are a strong, powerful, independent woman. I still don't like that you're a commoner, but fuck. Yeah, I guess you can come in."
Nice.
And they're like, "Oh, sweet, yay." And then she goes like, "Oh, by the way, I'm applying to become like a royal herbalist person, so I can come here on my own power, and I don't have to just say, 'Oh, I'm your friend,' in order to come visit you." And they're like, "Oh, sweet. So you're actually just gonna be independent and work on your own, and not just fawning over the prince." Great character.
Indeed.
That's about it for that show. I watched episode 3 of Space Sheriff Gavin. Massive jump in quality because it doesn't have an omniscient narrator expositioning everything. The characters
so you're not a fan of that trope?
I don't like. I'm okay with it sometimes, but it just those first 2 episodes felt egregious for me. It felt like a crutch and not a storytelling device.
That's a very prevalent thing in like any toku before the mid 2000s.
But here's the thing. I'm fine with like the level it was in episode 3. I dig that. I just wanted more of the characters to explore themselves than a narrator going, "By the way, here's this information." I'm more of a fan of the characters going like, "Why did he betray my dad?" And exploring it in that way. Like, this was a nice balance, and I like this. If it keeps it up at this pace, fucking golden. And if it dips back into the other way of doing it, that's fine too. But I really dug it like this. And this episode was really good. I really liked it. This is the one. This is the one where he finds out like his dad's partner is now working with the bad guys.
Yeah.
And
So, like, I can't remember how prevalent it is, but I do remember that keeps up. The narration thing keeps up for the whole series.
like, here's the thing. Like I said, if it keeps up to like this, and it's not like every 5 seconds, it's going like, hey, by the way, this is something Gavin's doing. Yeah. It's a matter of balance. Before it felt like it was 75-25 of narration to not. This feels just more like 50-50, 60-40 given on the narration side. I'm okay with that. It just was like too much. But I'm digging it. And I also finally watched Batman Ninja.
How the fuck was that? Because I've heard such mixed things.
I thought it was really fucking cool.
Okay, better question. Which dub did you watch?
I watched the English dub.
Okay, because here's the... Do you know the thing with that?
What?
The English dub and the Japanese dub have completely different scripts because they were both being recorded at the same time as it was being animated. So neither one can be considered the accurate one. There's just two different versions of that movie available, like there being a regular version and a director's cut. But it's not called neither one of them are called the director's cut, so you just have to decide which version seems the most appropriate to you.
Damn, I'm putting Batman Ninja back on my playlist because A, I love the animation, and I'll just watch the Japanese dub.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought all the character designs were really well founded, really interesting. The way they reinterpreted a lot of the Batman lore to ancient feudal Japan was fascinating to me. It was like really cool. It's like, oh yeah, that's dope. I wasn't the biggest fan of this version of the Joker's voice because he went way too high pitch more often than not.
Ooh, I hate it when they do that with the Joker.
Yeah, it was like, but like, he was trying to do Mark Hamill, but he had a higher register than Mark Hamill's Joker. It fits, but it fits in a way. It's just every once in a while, it's like, oh, you could have done another take on that. Because he's a little bit more like weird, lanky, gangly kind of Joker, and it helps with the mustache he has. Because the mustache just makes it more like, I am a weird version of the Joker.
I'm
Cesar
Romero.
Honestly, it does remind me of that. A lot of it was really cool. I really dug like the old wooden chariot version of the Batmobile he had. The only thing I was kind of like about the whole thing was Catwoman betraying Batman for to get home with General Gorilla Grodd. It felt like, come on. But her design was great. It was cute. All the Robins were there. But they didn't have a ton of screen time to really be like their version of the Robins, except the Red Hood. He was awesome. Fucking great. Because have you ever seen those old school, like, basket-headed Buddhist monks in Japanese storytelling?
I literally do not remember.
Basket head monk. They're called Kumoso.
Oh, I think one of the foot soldiers in fucking Ninja, because there's two different foot soldiers in that show for some reason. The Ninja might have been based on that. I think that's what you're talking about.
Very possibly. They look like these guys.
Yeah. No. Oh, I know what I think. That's in Akiba Ranger, the fucking Powerful Rangers episode. The guy who gives Akiba Red the Powerful Rangers comic is one of those dudes. That's where I know that from.
Neat. Basically, the Red Hood looks like one of those guys.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like a red version of that, and it's like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. It's like it's a really well animated movie. It's very experimental and a lot of the weird things it does, but I liked it. I really dug it. I give a recommendation for Batman Ninja.
All right.
Especially because there's giant robots in there, and there's scenes where Batman gets a new costume, and it goes Shogun Batman.
Oh, so he basically does a
Gurren Lagann thing, like Gurren Lagann kill, full on screen full of color, just the character design, and it goes Shogun Batman.
Excellent.
And then he loses his armor, and he has this sleeker armor underneath, and it goes Batman Ninja.
See, I'm still waiting for like the Batman cartoon or something where he has all the goofy special situation costumes that every Batman toy line gives him, but like they're actually in the show, and there's a Japanese dub. So when he gets them in the Japanese dub, it sounds like he's going, Batman, fire battle modo! That's the Batman I want to see. Like Super Sentai Batman.
Also, a group of semi-sentient monkeys combined together to make a monkey-based mech, and then a bunch of bats showed up and combined with the monkeys to turn into like a retro 60s Batman manga mech. To fight the Joker's mech, inspired and based off of Japanese castles, and like Two Faces has like a mecha Buddha. And the penguin's there. Like, it feels like this should have been like a 12 episode anime with how much shit they just threw at the wall.
Excellent.
Like, I want them to visit this show and make it a 6 episode show, because like, oh, okay, they go to the past. The Joker, Two-Face, Penguin, Deathstroke, and Poison Ivy all become warlords of medieval Japan.
That's perfect.
Nightwing, Robin, and Red Hood all join forces with a giant ninja clan who worship Batman because of a prophecy that says a man dressed as a bat will one day come and save Japan.
So, actual Batman fans.
Yes. By the way, 3 of those ninjas have like really cool character designs. Only one of them talks.
Excellent.
Gorilla Grodd is there. He also becomes a warlord of Japan. And he makes his castle into a mecha, and the technology leaks to all the other bad guys, and they turn their castles into mechas, and they all come to the battlefield getting ready to fight. And Gorilla God goes like, "You fools thought you got a hold of my technology on your own," and he presses a button and brainwashes all of them. And it combines, and like a shogi board pops up, and he puts down shogi pieces, and he uses that to combine the mecha.
Perfect.
And by the way, when Batman first got there, Joker was the shogun of an area, but after a fight with the Joker blew up and lost his memories. So him and Harley Quinn, who also lost her memories, are in the middle of a Japanese countryside living as simple farmers. And this is when Red Hood shows up, because he's going like, "Bitch, you're the Joker. How are you alive?" And he starts beating his face in, and he goes like, "What did I do? I didn't do anything wrong," because he doesn't have his memory. And Batman shows up and goes like, "No, I don't see the crazy in his eyes. That we don't need to worry about him right now. We'll come back and pick him up when we head back to the future."
Wholesome Batman.
But here's the thing. The Joker brainwashed himself into being sane so he could trick the Batman. He can take over the Gorilla Grodd mecha with a Joker balloon that falls on top of the head, and he fights Batman in an epic sword showdown on the top of a burning castle.
That's either the most insanely Frank Miller core thing I've ever heard, or the most insanely Scott Snyder core thing I've ever heard, and I can't decide.
Here's a better way of thinking about it. It's Grant Morrison trying to write like Frank Miller.
Yes!
That's what it's like. It's that wild, crazy, active imagination through the filter of shit, ninjas, samurai swords, Batman's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Batman's the Lord and Savior of Japan. Like, it's insane and great. And here's the best part. They go back to the future, and Bruce Wayne's going to this big event. And instead of going in a normal car, for some reason, they transported this ancient Japanese carriage that looks like a Batmobile, but has a tiny little Japanese shed on it. It's going through the streets of Gotham, breaks a trash can, and as it's going by, you see the door open a little bit, and you just see Bruce Wayne sipping green tea. It's the best thing ever!
I'm not gonna lie, this movie sounds amazing.
Like, it's not All-Star Superman. It's not like a end-all be-all Batman story, but it is some of the most dumb fun you will ever have with a movie.
Like, I don't think this is a movie I would watch on my own, but I think this is a movie I would watch with either you or some other friends and, like, drink and have fun watching.
Especially when it gets to, like, some of the most epic moments ever, and it's just, like, when Batman just shows back up and it just goes, Batman Ninja! And you just go like, yeah!
Yeah, boy!
It's so good. Like I finished, like, it's good. I just love it. Batman Ninja. Fuck yeah. Yeah, that's what I watched.
Alright, well, I've got quite a bit of stuff this week, but I guess we'll start off with stuff that's kind of been permeating my week because it's been in my Watch Later playlist and I've been hitting it almost constantly, like at least once a day. Chris, I finally got into Game Grumps.
Ooh!
Oh,
a couple of years a little late, but, like, good.
Always good. Always fun. Oh, the name's not exactly apt. I kind of feel like it should be called Game Goofs because it's more just them goofing around with and BSing with each other, and occasionally shit gets real. But I've yet to encounter a video where I felt like they were grumpy.
Which ones have you watched so far?
I'm starting from the beginning, so I'm still in the John era.
Oh, you're in John era. Ooh.
Yeah, which I will admit, it's incredibly refreshing to hear John Tron say something that's not racist.
Oh,
it's good times, you know. It's fun. It's also really satisfying to me that I'm watching a playthrough of Pokemon Emerald that I've not seen before while I'm playing for Pokemon Emerald for like the 10th time.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I'm a bigger fan of Dan at this point in time.
I'll get to Dan when I get to him, but I don't doubt I'll like him as well. Somebody told me that, like, and this was a couple of years ago now, but somebody told me that, like, half of the way for the Dan era things stop being interesting because they don't have as much to talk about. Like, it's more so, we made videos for the channel this week. That's what we've been doing. Not just random stories from their lives and shit. But I feel like I'll be the one to judge on that when I get to it.
I stopped watching Game Grumps mainly because the games that I was interested in watching them play, they had played already.
Mm.
And it just the newer games they were playing, I wasn't interested in, so it was like, eh.
Yeah.
Like the ones I really enjoy, like Kirby's Epic Yarn, Wind Waker, the early NES ones that Dan played when he first joined, fucking excellent. And I still watch 10 Minute Power Hour. I still love the Game Grumps. It's just their Let's Plays is kind of bleh. And I've been watching their Mario Maker 2 playthrough where they're playing Ross's stage.
How is that?
It's fun. It's good. And, like, Because I'm interested in the game, and thus I'm interested in them playing the game.
Nice.
It's just they played like a good number of things that were like, hey, this is like easy fodder for us to make fun of. And that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in them playing good, decent games and having fun playing, getting frustrated, yes, but ultimately just being guys playing a game together.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. It's probably going to take me a long time to get through the backlog, so I don't know when I'm going to be able to comment on the current status of the channel, but I like it for now.
You'll get to the
I
current...
would recommend it if, like me, you're one of the few people on the planet who has a YouTube account and has not seen Game Grumps yet.
You'll get it when they start injecting liquid Game Grumps directly into your pee hole.
Yeah.
That's a quote from the Let's Plays.
Honestly, I'm not surprised.
Directly in your pee hole.
So the last 2 episodes of BoJack Horseman were pretty damn good.
Were they horsey and man-like?
In a way, it was pretty good. BoJack kind of comes to terms with like, yeah, I'm a really shitty guy. Yeah, I kind of need help. After destroying his casual relationship with one of his co-stars by taking way too many pills after he finds out that Diane knows about his past and getting really paranoid and choking said co-star on set while they're trying to film a scene where he's supposed to be choking her for the sake of the story, but he does it for real. And so again, they go back to that Hollywood scandal cycle thing that they've been doing for the whole season of commenting on that stuff. And it's kind of BoJack's wake-up moment of like, wow, I need to get help. And he goes back to Diane and he's like, you work for one of those like SJW article sites that writes like takedowns and whatnot. Write one about me. She's like, why would I do that? Because I'm a horrible person and I need to pay for my crimes. And she's like, we're 5 seasons in and you've done some really ridiculous shit in that time. If you've not gotten caught yet, you're not ever going to get caught. So I'm not going to write that. What I am going to do is drive you to rehab. And he's like, okay. How does rehab work? And she explains to him like the whole concept of like trying to give up and be better and like saying, hi, I'm BoJack, I have a problem. I take too many pills and I drink too much. Can you help me with that? And that's where we leave off for season 5. And honestly, I would be okay if that's the end of the show. I doubt it's going to be. This is one of the most popular cartoons on Netflix, so I could see it getting a season 6 and us seeing where things could go from here, especially because a lot of other characters are kind of in new and different places. Like, Diane is sleeping with her ex-husband who she divorced at the end of the last season. Princess Carolyn has just adopted a child, and Todd is being Todd. And yeah, it's pretty good. I liked it a lot. Like BoJack to me at this point is kind of on the level of Breaking Bad. It's a show that can really do no wrong. So I'm just more like, I'm along for the ride. I'm interested to see where this goes. So, eagerly awaiting season 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I watched the rest of Carmen Sandiego season 1, which is episodes 3 through 9.
Did they ever find Waldo?
They did not. But, like, holy crap, this show opened up and got really good and interesting. Like, not that it wasn't before, but it was just kind of like solid cartoon show before. There's, like, a whole lot more stuff that gets introduced just after the pilot. Like, all the other students from her class at the academy come back and are, like, reoccurring villains. And her teachers from the academy are, like, like if this was a Sentai, they'd be like the generals, and the other kids from the class would be like reoccurring monsters of the week. And we also find out that besides Player, her guy in the chair, she's got two other helpers. This set of ginger twins from Jersey City named Zach and Ivy, who are just hilarious and great. Just kind of follow her around and are like her driver and muscle. And they're a lot of fun. Like, I especially love Ivy. Ivy is practically a waifu tier character, I would say. Like, she has some amazing moments in the show. She never gets a focus episode, but she gets so many moments that I'm like, she kind of just basically has 2 focus episodes if you cut it all together. Like, my biggest laugh throughout the season is this moment when this detective who was from like the French whatever the fuck where detective people force, who and is hired by Acme, which is a thing, and there's a secret agency thing called Acme in this show that's like, we're specifically dedicated to taking down the same evil organization that Carmen Sandiego comes from and is now trying to take down, but nobody really knows anything about Carmen Sandiego, so we think she might be working for them. So we're our main goal right now is to try and catch her and get information on Vile. That's the villain organization's name. Like, there's a moment where this detective guy who is now an agent of Vile is having like a car chase with what he thinks is Carmen Sandiego, but it's just Ivy wearing Carmen Sandiego's jacket and hat. And like, they get in a crash and she gets out of the car and the hat falls off, and he's like, "What? But your hat and your coat, I thought you were Carmen Sandiego." Oh, but like, he just says, but your coat. And she's like, "Why the fuck were you chasing me?" And he goes, "But your coat." And she goes, "What? It matches my hair. And coats are warm." It's funny. I like
that. Sounds like a line you'd love.
Yeah. And then there's a cool little twist at the end. Which, are you interested in seeing this, Chris?
In a I don't care about spoilers way.
Okay. So there's been an overarching mystery in the season of like, ooh, I was found as a baby and brought to the island and raised here. I wonder which one of the teachers found me. And she's like, oh, it was the gym teacher, because the gym teacher, this big buff lady, was always the nicest to me. And she was like my mom, practically. And it turns out, no, it wasn't the gym teacher, because the gym teacher and the guy who failed her on the final exam are sent after her as like the last resort by the teachers of like, we've got to stop Carmen. She's fucking up our shit way too much. You two go deal with her. Go kill her. And the gym teacher is like dead ass ready to kill her and like has her in a death grip. And then this teacher who failed her and is like this kind of this Japanese samurai dude, like he's basically Samurai Jack, but not. He takes out the gym teacher and is like, we gotta go. She's like, what the fuck? No, just follow me, I'll explain later, we gotta go. And then we find out that like he's the one who found her as a baby. He brought her to the island. He failed her because he didn't want to see her become an agent of evil. And like the moment when she escaped the island and he was chasing after her, he was actually trying to escape with her, but he just wasn't fast enough. And it's like, yeah, now that we both know where each other stand, I'm going to be your man on the inside. And that's kind of where we're left off for the season, is like, now Carmen's got a real leg up on the villains. So very, very interested to see where things go from here. I hope this gets a second season, because this definitely does feel like the first act of at least 3-act story. The voice cast is also fantastic. Like Finn Wolfman is Player. He's one of the kids from Stranger Things. He's great. Didn't really think of him as a good voice actor, but he really surprised me in this show. I think it's Gina Rodriguez, I think is her name, the lady who voices Carmen. She's great. Ivy is voiced by fucking, I forget her name, but the woman who voiced Windblade in the Machinima Prime Wars shows. What a fucking glow up. She is amazing in this show, and I could not have cared less about her in those shows. And then there's a villain of the week, another kid from the school called Paper Star, who is like this crazy like this Asian singing to herself kind of crazy girl whose whole thing is that she has origami throwing stars, and she makes a bunch of shit out of paper as weapons, and like it's nearly impossible for Carmen to beat her because she's just so versatile. She's voiced by Penny Parker from Into the Spider-Verse. And you don't know it until you go on the IMDb. So, yeah.
This just sounds like a very like American kind of take on like Lupin the Third.
Yeah, I could see that. It's like I don't know enough about Lupin to be like, yeah, it's definitely that, but like it's definitely got some Indiana Jones in there.
Is Castle Cagliostro on our list?
I don't know if it is, but it's on my list of movies to watch eventually.
Because that's one of my favorite Ghibli films.
Even though it's not technically Ghibli.
It's my favorite Hayao Miyazaki films. Like, it's a good movie.
Yeah. And Carmen Sandiego is a good show, or at least the first season is, so I'd recommend checking it out. I also watched this week's episode of Straight Up Steve Austin. The guest this time was Baker Mayfield of the some fucking guy football team. I had no idea who he was. He seems like average college jock, all-American, nice boy. I did not give a fuck. Was not a very interesting episode. The biggest pop I had was Stone Cold drives him around in a dune buggy at one point, but the dune buggy is all customized to look like a warthog from Halo, and I was like, that's cool. I kind of would have liked to see like a Mythbusters-esque video about them making that, but whatever, that's cool.
Wait, are we saying Stone Cold Steve Austin is a gamer?
No, he got that specifically because he knew this guy was a gamer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's neat, though.
Yeah, that was a cool little moment. They also ride in what is essentially a riding lawnmower, but with like a lazy boy recliner instead of an actual lawnmower on it. That was a fun moment. And yeah, I don't give a fuck about football, so most of this episode I was kind of just tuned out doing other things. But I guess I'm just watching this weekly now. I don't know how that happened, but...
I mean, that could have been an episode you watched with your dad because he likes football. He may have recognized the dude.
Yeah, I might have to like put it on for him later. I know I'm gonna try and get my dad into wrestling when AEW Weekly starts, now that we have cable. Like my plan for Wednesdays is to watch AEW because I always have Wednesdays off. I've never not had a Wednesday off. So my plan for Wednesday nights now is to watch AEW on cable with my dad, and then he'll probably want to go to bed by that point, and then I'll just go into my office and put NXT on my computer.
Of course.
Yes. Speaking of wrestling, speaking of WWE, I watched this week's episode of Ride Along, which was an episode about two couples. We had Seth and Becky. Hey, Chris, did you know? Were you aware? Have you been informed that Becky Lynch is Seth Rollins' girlfriend?
Yeah, someone says they have to prop up Seth Rollins because he made an ass of himself on Twitter to make him look like a face.
Yep. But hey, the much more interesting side of that is the Viking Raiders with Sarah Logan were on.
Ooh, that's adorable.
Yeah, there was some really fun stuff of them like talking about their wedding and the fact that they honeymooned at what was essentially a mass Viking LARP.
Of course.
There was a great segment where they played Who Knows Ray, aka Ivar, better. And of course Sarah knew him better, and we get to learn all these little facts about the man who is actually Rowan. He is Rowan in our hearts. But his favorite food is steak. Apparently he takes a shit ton of bathroom breaks before every match just because he gets nervous. I can't remember any other ones. Those are the only ones that stuck in my mind. But there was a really funny moment where Sarah is like teasing, I can't remember his real name, but the other Viking raider, Hansen, we'll call him Hansen. She's teasing him and being like, do you even know Ray? What's going on here? And he's like, I know he's the big dude who throws me at people, and that's enough for me. And I was like, that's great.
Also, Sean Spears and Peyton Royce finally tied the knot.
Hey, good for them. But the Seth and Becky portion...
Are they our Romeo and Juliet of this Wednesday Night War?
Ooh, they kind of are. They kind of are.
Two houses alike in dignity?
Yeah.
Just derailed you tonight.
The only other thing I have to say about this episode is, like, I almost said the Seffi and Beck. The Becky and Seth segments were a little grown-worthy. Like, they don't seem like that couple... Like, even though they joked at one point that, like, all the girls in the locker room think they're really adorable, they don't seem like the kind of couple where you go, oh, they're so cute. They seem like the kind of couple of, like, how are they still together while they're constantly bickering? Like, there's a moment where Becky Lynch is dead ass like, I'm freezing in the car. And Seth's like, what? I've got it at 72. Isn't that warm enough for you? I'm actually starting to sweat here. And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that would lead to a full-on shouting match between my parents on a road trip.
72 is cold, though.
Mm-hmm. They did have a couple good moments, mainly Becky. Like, there was a great moment towards the end where Seth was just like, I'm going to let Becky talk for a minute here. Hey, you're on the cover of 2K19. Yeah, that's really cool. I enjoyed filming that commercial. Hey, you have a fucking Barbie doll now when you were upset about getting shafted by Mattel before. Yeah, that's really cool. Here's footage of me posing with the Becky Two Belts doll at Comic-Con. And I was like, yeah, Becky's like 10 times better than Seth. Why isn't she getting his push?
Because she doesn't have a penis.
That's fair. And then I watched this week's Ms. and Mrs. I'm not gonna lie, this episode was borderline unbearable. Because it's about like, oh, SmackDown is in LA this week, so why don't you and I leave the baby with my... I had a burp there. Why don't we leave the baby with my mom, and we'll go to LA and have a fun, nostalgic adventure as a couple? And then it's constantly like, thing goes wrong. I'm going to try and make this better by doing this extravagant thing for my wife. Thing goes wrong. I'm going to try and do another extravagant thing for my wife. Thing goes wrong. You get the gist. But
yeah,
it somehow ends in them deciding to move back to LA because they're really nostalgic and they miss it. They think the pace of LA is much more something they are accustomed to, whereas Austin is so much more slow and much more of like just not them. They're real Hollywood types, you know. Mike is the A-lister. Do you watch SmackDown, people? Also, Maurice is pregnant again. Also, with how all out this episode went in reveals and shit, I think this might have been the season finale. I'm not sure. I won't know until Tuesday when a new episode does or doesn't show up on Watch Wrestling, whatever the fuck the site I watch is called.
You watch it on live TV. You don't.
I have a WWE Network subscription.
For $9.99.
I give my money to Vince McMahon. I bend over and he puts his cock in my ass, and I enjoy it. It is nice.
CM Punk, we need you.
Somebody get the Punk signal.
It's just a giant sign of Pepsi in the sky.
No, it's just a giant ice cream bar.
We still haven't gotten the WWE.
Yeah. So moving away from wrestling,
Never.
I've started watching a YouTube thing, which you might have seen because I posted it in my Discord server. Become my Patreon patron for $5 and get into my Discord server. There's my plug. There is a 4-part video series by a British gentleman about trying to cross the entirety of the country of Wales going in a straight line. Had you heard of this before I put it in the server?
Nah.
It is, like, I just came across it randomly for recommendations. It is really interesting because it's like full-on, like, Survivor Man or fucking Bear Grylls out in the wild, kind of, but not as obviously produced, and the guy is actually not in any real danger. He's just pretending to be. It's this guy just wearing a GoPro, walking across this country and like dodging angry farmers and trying to go across these raging, overflooded rivers and these rickety old bridges and like scurrying under hedgerows because there's no other way to keep going in the straight line. And it's just really interesting the kind of crazy shit he'll do to stick to this mission of I have to go in this exact straight line because he wants to be the first person in history to be documented doing that. And it's pretty good. It's like, I wouldn't say it's like top of the list as far as YouTube content you should get to, but it's kind of close to there. It's a neat little like almost reality TV style, but not quite kind of thing. It's a good watch. I've only seen the first part so far, but if the other 4 parts are at least as good as the first part, I think it's a good series.
Dopage.
And then, my final thing for this week as far as watching goes, I watched the first 4 episodes of, let's see if I can pronounce this correctly, Hyakuju Sentai Gyourenja!
Now say it like you're not a weeb in 9th grade trying to sound Japanese.
Hyper Beast Squadron Roar Ranger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It helps that this is pretty similar to the Power Rangers version, and I already really like the Power Rangers version. For those of you who don't know, Wild Force is actually in my top 5 seasons. Not really a very common statement I've found.
I mean, hey, my favorite season, Jungle Fury.
Actually, real quick, while we're on the subject, my top 5 seasons in no particular order are Dino Charge, SPD, Wild Force, Lightspeed Rescue, and Zeo.
Jungle Fury, RPM, SPD, Mystic Force, and I don't think I have a 5th one that really sticks out like that.
Interesting.
But those 4 are great.
Yeah. But Power Ranger's pretty good. It's very similar to Zyuohger, or I guess Zyuohger is very similar to it, because this was the 25th anniversary season. Zyuohger is the 40th anniversary season. It's basically a team of 4 Rangers has been slowly gathering over the last year. There's a mentor who's connected to this animal spirit realm.
Someone's Canadian.
Yeah, and it's like, hey, we got to find a leader for you guys. It's going to be a Red Ranger, shock of all shocks. And they're like, okay, if we got it, we'll find a leader, even though logically the person who's been here for the longest, the Yellow Ranger, who has a penis for some reason, because Japan, he's been here for the longest, so he should probably be the leader, but fine, we'll get a new guy to be the leader. And it's, instead of Jungle Boy Cole, it's this nice veterinarian dude who's like, I help all animals no matter what. He's basically Yamato from Zyuohger, or Yamato from Zyuohger is basically him. And one thing I do like about this season that very much distinguishes it from modern Sentai, it's very much a classic Sentai kind of season. One, as we were discussing earlier, constant bedtime stories, and then this narrator kind of pops in and goes like, now, children, get ready to be taken on one such adventurous story as we learn about the Gao Rangers, or whatever the fuck. So that's a nice thing that this kind of gets right, as opposed to the Power Rangers version, where the narrator will just randomly pop in some episodes of Wild Force. In this, it's like, no, the narrator is almost diegetic. Like, you kind of get why the narrator is here. This is supposed to be like a big fairy tale. And then also, I completely forgot where I was going with that.
Okay. I mean, that's on you.
Yeah. There's some great, like, I don't really know in what order to go with this show, because it is just, like, fantastic. It's one of the best Sentais I've seen in a long time. I cannot stress that enough. Like, the action in this show is so perfect, where it's like they'll be fighting in a really animalistic way, where they'll like run up on all fours and pounce on a monster and like drag it and slam its head into a tree, and then there will be like a fucking 60s Batman style onomatopoeia effect. And then just in the subtitles, you see in brackets, this says pain. And it's like, yeah! But then, like, there will also be some great stuff where they'll just pick up these giant rubber suit monsters and, like, what's it called? Like, windmill them around and toss them into something. It's like, this was back when Sentai was not afraid to get, like, crazy acrobatic. Let's see how much we can do with these big bulky monster suits. And I really enjoy it. The suit designs are also pretty decent. I like how there's just straight up everyone is a monster except for the one female villain who you can only really tell is humanoid because she has a shroud over her face, but you can kind of see her human face behind that. Whereas in in Wild Force, they of course had Master Org, and there is a Master Org in this, which, interestingly enough, the name of the monsters isn't changed for Power Rangers. They are just called orgs in this.
Huh.
But there is a Master Org, but it's just a big, like, stone face in a wall in their lair, and like he creates this big general orb that it's like going to be in charge of. I haven't gotten used to their Japanese names yet, so I'm just going to call them Jindrax and Toxica. It's just like, here's this big monster general to be in charge of you guys. And they're like, what are we going to do? We've got these Gal Rangers that have been harassing us for the last couple episodes before you showed up. And he just dead-ass goes, unless the face in the wall says we're going to change things, we're just going to keep going as we go on. So make me a monster of the week. And I'm like, all right, Sentai. Oh, I remember what the other thing I was going to mention earlier that distinguishes this from modern Sentai. They don't have civilian names. They flat out refer to each other as their colors. And, like, there's a scene where the Red Ranger goes to introduce himself to everyone, and Yellow is like, you have a name? We don't do that here. We're the Gal Rangers. We've forsaken our everyday lives to go on this this sacred mission to defend the Earth. You should only refer to us as our warrior names. I am Gao Yellow. You will only address me as such." And he's like, "Oh, fucking K then." It's good. I'm enjoying the team dynamics very much, even though they are incredibly similar to the Power Rangers season. Like, I feel like everything's just a little stronger here. Like, it feels like Wild Force was less an adaptation of Gao Ranger and more kind of the samurai, watered down version of Gao Ranger sort of adaptation, but not as bad as Samurai was to Shinkenger. If you get what I'm saying.
I pick up what you're putting down. Maybe you could have just handed it to me instead of just being weird and putting it down first. But yeah, I get it.
That's fair. I should also mention, no idea when I'll get back to that, or also no idea when I'll get back to Kamen Rider Blade, because it's been 2 weeks since I've talked about it. Because I just put the intro for every Kamen Rider and Super Sentai and Ultraman and Garo show that I haven't seen in my Watch Later playlist. So I'm just going to be...
So you're doing it how like I've been doing anime.
Yeah, I'm just going to be checking in on those randomly from time to time.
It's so much more relaxing.
It is, yeah.
It's so much easier. Like, because you don't have, because it's not like you're binging and you get burnt out. It's just like,
yeah. Because, like, I had that year where I was like, I'm kind of done watching Sentai and Rider Weekly. This is a bit much. And then I kind of just disengaged with the Toku fandom very slowly. And now I'm back in on it, but I'm not binge watching anything. I'm not keeping up with weekly shows. It's just kind of like I'm watching things here and there. And it's much more enjoyable. Even though I'm spoiled on things, like I flat out know the ending of Geo, I don't feel like it's ruined for me. I just feel like, okay, that's what happens in Geo. I'll experience it when I experience it.
yeah.
But that's everything I watched this week. What have you been reading this week, Chris?
Well, I've been keeping up with the new X-Men stuff. So Powers of X3 was the next thing coming out, and next thing I read. It's fucking good. It's just good. And they revealed why in the future, in one of the future timelines, Wolverine was working with Apocalypse. Okay, in this version, Wolverine was his Horseman of War. Like, Apocalypse was still doing his whole Horseman thing. And they're fighting against Nimrod and all the Sentinels, trying to get information, get all this shit. And they get this data stick, and Wolverine walks into this place with a cryo chamber, and Moira Taggart's in it. And remember, Moira Taggart is now retconned a mutant. She has a mutant ability of when she dies, she reincarnates into her younger self. And she remembers all her previous memories. That's her mutant ability. Which has to be an Omega level ability now. It has to be.
Mutants. I guess so, but also I don't really know how the levels work.
Omega is like infinite potential. Like Magneto's Omega, Iceman's Omega, Cyclops. Kamen Rider
Ghost is Omega.
Yeah. But essentially, Wolverine plugs the magic USB stick into the thing, and Moira wakes up and goes like, "All right, I know all the information." And then Wolverine looks at her with the saddest eyes and says, and Moira goes, "All right, what else needs to be done?" And Wolverine just looks at her and goes, "One thing left." And he just looks at her with sad eyes and goes, "I'm sorry." And Moira goes, "No, this has to happen. I have to go back." And Wolverine stabs her in the stomach and kills her.
Damn.
Because she has to go back in time so she can fix the future. But that's how her power works. She has to die. And it's just like, ooh, so much fascinating stuff. Like, it's really good. It's really good, and I'm hyped for X-Men. I get why people are like diehard X-Men fans.
Nice.
I've also been
one day I will become like you, and then one day I will become a diehard X-Men fan. That's probably not for like another 20 years, but we'll see.
I've also been catching up on a manga I really enjoy called Beast Children.
That sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't.
Can you guess what it's, guess, take a while, guess what it's about.
It's about furries?
It's about rugby.
Oh.
It's a sports manga. Basically,
fucking jock.
I'm too fat to be a jock. But basically, the scrawny little dude who really loves rugby, wants to play rugby, has nobody to play rugby with. He goes to high school. There's a rugby club full of big, tall, beefy motherfuckers, and they look at him and guess what they do?
What do they do?
They say, you can play rugby with us. Come on. Like, they don't shit on him at all. It's just like, shit, you like rugby? Fuck yeah. Come on. Can you keep up?
Rugby bros!
And they just play rugby. And like, right now, the main character kid is trying to gear up and recruit members for a sevens team. Because there's two ways to play rugby union. There's 15s and sevens. And that's just the number of players. But because they have a different number of team members, they play in different ways. So 15s play a much more defensive game, and sevens is much more fast-paced, which is really good for a skinny, scrawny, fast-paced dude who can pick up a dude 3 times his size on his shoulders and not walk upstairs, run upstairs. Like, he's a powerful little bugger. But yeah, Beast Children is good.
Neat.
And that's about what I've been reading. I haven't had time. Because if you haven't known, I live in Florida. And right now, there's a hurricane barreling through.
Yeah, you guys are fixing to have an interesting week. Good luck with that, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't die. It would be really inconvenient if I had to find another co-host, so please don't die.
And then, like, you said, hey man, don't die, and you did it on Twitter, and you also like thirst posted at the same time to a cosplayer.
She's a friend of mine. I've literally been DMing back and forth with her since 2014.
On the outside, you can see it looks a little bit like a thirst post.
That's fair.
And I was more ragging on you and not chastising you.
Yeah. To be fair, though, at first I was kind of first following her. It was one of those things where I slid into the DMs hoping to get laid as like a lonely teenager. And then because she lived about 2 hours away from me at the time. And then I was like, no, friend. Please don't die, friend.
Friend.
Yeah. So what I've been reading this week, I finished the Hollow series, book 13, The Witch with No Name.
Did Ichigo Kurosaki showed up and beat the Hollow?
He sure did, man. It was really cool.
Okay, I'm glad.
Pretty satisfying conclusion to the series. I give it a 9 out of 10. Point taken off for doing the same ending as Harry Potter.
With the Bankai?
Yeah, there's lots of Bankais. a few Kisamas as well. Quite a few Kisamas, actually.
What about a Kaiku? Was there a Kaiku?
I can't remember. I'd have to reread it and look for Kaikus. Somebody post in the comments. Tell us if there was a Kaiku.
How about giant robots? Were there giant robots?
No giant robots. We don't do that in this genre.
Man, lame. Lame. I'm gonna go back to watching Gundam, man. There's war and gray morality and people die and you're sad.
Oh man, you're so edgy and cool. Then I read a comic called Robin: A Hero Reborn, which is an old ass trade collection from back when trade collections were just becoming a thing. That collects the free issues of Detective Comics where Tim Drake actually becomes Robin because he was kind of like a guest star character in Detective for like 10 issues before he officially became Robin. And then it also collects his first miniseries as Robin. And it's pretty interesting. You know, I'd never really read Batman comics from that sort of like late 80s to mid 90s Norm Brayfogle kind of period. I'd always known they were really popular, but I'd never checked them out myself, and they're pretty good. Like this is a type of Batman I can totally vibe with. And Tim himself, like I've talked before about like how he's one of those DC characters that I know very little about, but would like to learn more about and just haven't gotten around to it before with. Now that I've read what is basically his origin story, I can say he's a pretty cool dude. I don't think he's my favorite Robin, but he's up there. Like, ranking of Robins for me right now probably goes Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Damian Wayne, Jason Todd. And then the others below them.
See, when it comes to Robins, I'm very very partial to Hood.
Yeah, he's an honorable mention. You know, I love Oliver Queen as much as the next guy, but I don't really know where he fits in the whole Batman lore.
I mean, he did give a hand in The Dark Knight Returns.
That's fair.
Get it? Because he only has one arm!
Well, but no, Robin: A Hero Reborn is pretty good. If you can track it down for a decent price, which wouldn't be that hard, I got mine for literally $5 at a used bookstore. It's a good read. I enjoyed it a lot. I like how he kind of in his miniseries he kind of goes off on his own and has like this globe-trotting adventure of self-discovery, similar to how Bruce has his whole backstory of traveling around the world, learning from all these like masters of different fields. And like he meets Lady Shiva, and she tries to turn him into her apprentice, and he's like, "Nah, bitch, I ain't about that killing people shit," and just goes back to Gotham. And Batman's just like, "You have a good trip?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. Let's go fight some crime." And he's like, "Cool." And it's good, wholesome Bat family content is the thing to take away. Chris, what have you been playing this week?
I want you to take a wild guess.
Would it be guns? Would there be some dams involved?
Yeah, I've been playing more Gundam. Just so much Gundam. The mobile game, it's so good. It's Gundam.
In other words, you can summarize this segment of the podcast up as Chris reviews more Gundam. Chris reviews more Gundam.
No, I full on one day want to make a Gunpla building podcast where me and a person on camera just build Gunpla and talk about Gundam.
That could be a show on this channel once we're both in the same area.
I have fallen deep into the Gundam hole. So deep in the Gundam hole. There's bodies down here. There's metal. It smells bad. There's iron.
Have you found the leftovers of Hideaki Anno's soul yet?
No, he's in the hole next to us. It's the Ava hole. This is the Gundam hole.
Wouldn't he be in the Ultraman hole, actually?
No. At this point in time, he's in the Ava hole. He dug it himself.
Did you fucking hear the news that he's directing a Shin Ultraman movie?
Oh, dude, that's probably his biggest dream.
I am so hyped for that.
He's going to put so much love in there, it's going to come out sticky.
Mm-hmm. And, like, I'm saying this as somebody who's not super into Evangelion, But Shin Godzilla is my favorite Godzilla movie, and it's one of like free kaiju movies I've ever actually liked.
If he just does like a series of movies where he reboots classic Japanese franchises in his own unique style, that'd be interesting. So you got Shin Godzilla.
I want him to do Kamen Rider and call it Shin Kamen Rider.
Shin. But like, imagine that he does like an old school like fucking one of the samurai franchises that Japan has that they have a ton of.
Shin Samurai 7.
Yeah, and he does like a Shin Lupin the Third. That'd be interesting. Shin Doraemon. That
Shin Hello Kitty.
But Shin Doraemon would be a fucking head trip.
Yeah. Fuck it. Shin Diaclone.
Shin Gundam.
Shin
Getter.
Go you first.
Shin Mazinger.
Shin Spider-Man.
I mean, if Sony backs out of the MCU, if we get that, I'd be happy.
All I want is for Spider-Man to be Into the Spider-Verse too.
I don't care if they only use him as a joke. I just want him to say, I am the emissary of hell, Spider-Man, Leopardon.
And like lift the audio from the show.
Oh, yes. And he has all the cheesy 70s Toku sound effects. The
yes.
Shingo.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been playing Gundam. Oh, I also downloaded and played the mobile Hot Wheels game. It's okay.
I didn't know there was a mobile Hot Wheels game.
It's not like a race.
Doesn't surprise me.
There's like lore in it. Like, oh my god. In the year 2668, people finally figured out how to make life-size Hot Wheels, and now they are racing all over cities. Or is it like, it's 2068?
So basically what you're saying is we finally got a Hot Wheels Highway 35 reboot.
You know what? I'll give that to you. I'll give it to you.
Well, shit, now I have to play that game.
I mean, it just has automatic acceleration, and you just steer it. You push a button and it boosts NOS. You push another button and it drifts for you.
Okay,
but it's simple. I just wanted a racing game, and I don't have a racing game for any of my consoles worth a damn.
Yeah.
So.
No joke, my racing game as a kid when I had a PS2 was a Hot Wheels game. I don't remember what it was called, but I remember I would always just play on the free roam mode and just ride, because it was one of the first racing games to have destruction mechanics for buildings and stuff in it, and I would just drive around crashing into shit.
See, the racing game I had as a kid was Ford Racing 2, which is a racing game only featuring Ford motor cars.
Huh.
Yeah. Though I did hang out with a person, and he had Need for Speed Most Wanted, which that's the racing game I want to play right now.
Huh.
And I don't have it.
Here, I just Googled it. Here's what it was called. Hot Wheels Velocity Maximum Justice.
I'm dead. I am dead.
Chris is dead and Hot Wheels killed him.
Lordy. Alright. What else with this shit show?
I played more Pokemon Emerald version. I've now got my first gym badge. I beat Watson. He was a really hard guy. I had to take him on 12 times before I beat him because I didn't have any ground or rock types. And he uses electric types. And I've got a full party of Pokemon I've been training up now. Currently, I'm training up a Wingull. He's a good little boy, and I like him. I'm about to start going down the next route and go to face Flannery, the Fire-type gym leader that everybody and their mom has drawn Rule 34 art of. So that should be fun.
I mean, people have probably drawn Rule 34 art of Watson as well.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. If you haven't fapped to Rule 44 Pokemon characters at least once, you're probably not human. Speaking of which, I played the first 10 minutes, literally the first 10 minutes of Pokemon Masters, because that came out yesterday as of this recording, and I just downloaded it tonight and started playing it, and then a fucking thing happened that we're not going to talk about here. And so I got distracted with other shit.
I mean, you're all out of choices when it comes to that.
Yeah. But it's pretty okay. It's all right. It's a very dumbed down kind of, but it's a mainstream Pokemon game. But you don't really need to go places to do it like Pokemon Go. And there's in-app purchases, but it's not pay to win. It's good wholesome Nintendo content, and they put Brock and Misty right up front as your teammates because Gen 1. And that makes it good, I guess. But also, fucking Rosa is one of the main characters. As I said last week, my favorite Pokemon design of all time, my favorite Pokemon character design. She doesn't have much actual characterization. She's a trainer character. She's a main trainer character. But I like her a lot. And to see her have some actual fucking dialogue in a game is pretty cool. So I'm gonna... I can't guarantee how often I'll play for this, but I'm gonna play through this whole thing eventually just to get the rest of whatever they do with Rosa in this. Okay, I'm done. I'm starting to lose my grip. Chris, tell.
I know what to do. I know what. I got it. Hi, I'm Chris Boingo Writer Gaston. You can find me on YouTube at Boingo Writer. I make video editorials of a variety of subjects. You can also find me on a variety of other places, such as Twitter at Boingo_Writer, at Instagram, Boingo_Writer, and on Discord. The link to my server is in the description. If you like my shit, fucking say hi.
Yeah, do that. I am Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott. I make all kinds of nerdy, review-oriented shit about physical products and paraphernalia, toys, action figures, comics, whatnot on the tubes of you. You can check that out at youtube.com/thevacuuminator. You can keep up with me and whatever I'm doing by following me at the Vacuuminator on Twitter and on Instagram. Analytical Fanboys is a podcast as part of Modular Media. Is a big fucking thing that Chris and I do that Boingo Writer. We're supposed to call each other by our YouTube names. Boingo Writer and I do together. And it's a thing. You can subscribe to it to get more podcasts as they come out. Hey, if you subscribe, you might as well go ahead and hit that bell icon to get notifications. If you want to listen to the shows on the go, we got a Google Drive folder in the description. Download every episode as an MP3 file. And we got a Twitter. It's at the Modular Media. You can follow there for updates on podcasts if they get like held up or some shit. And we got a subreddit. It's called r/Modular Media. Go subscribe to that and keep up with updates there. And until next time, Boingo and I will be seeing you when we'll be discussing the Joker Blogs Season 1.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna... That's oddly timely, considering as of this recording, the final trailer for Joker starring Joaquin Phoenix just came out. And this is a fan project that was inspired by the last big Joker movie, The Dark Knight.
Huh.
Have you seen this before, Chris?
Nope.
Oh, this is going to be really interesting because this is like old YouTube shit. Like back in.
It sounds like just some random guy.
Back in pre-2010s, this was like really popular nerd shit on YouTube. So
it sounds like something like it's just some random guy would have made, which I watched a lot back in the day.
It's kind of in that vein, but kind of not. You'll get it once you start watching it. But we'll see you next week when we discuss it. Until then, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking this episode is about to end. And guess what?
You're right.